Hey there, amazing people. Ever felt that sting of being judged unfairly? That moment when your heart just sinks because someone doesn't see who you truly are? It's a pain we all know, right? A fear that whispers in the back of our minds. What if they don't accept me? What if they laugh? What if they push me away? I know I have. Have you? Tell me in the comments below. Where are you watching from today? It's always so cool to see how far our little stories travel. And hey, before we dive in, a quick click on that like button would be super awesome. It helps us share stories like this with more incredible folks like you. Because honestly, this one is especially for you. Let's just say, appearances can be so deceiving. You think you know someone just by looking at them? Think again. Get ready, because what happened in this story, it's going to make you question everything. Let's dive in to see. The fluorescent lights of the Sterling Solutions office buzz overhead, a stark contrast to the nervous flutter in Amelia's stomach. She smoothed down her simple, slightly worn dress, a hand instinctively checking if her hair, pulled back in a no-fuss bun, was still neat. This was everything. After months of sending out applications, this was her shot, her chance to prove herself, to build a better life. When the receptionist, a young woman with perfectly manicured nails and a dismissive air, finally called her name, Amelia's heart pounded. She walked into the interview room, trying to ignore the judgmental glance that flickered across the receptionist's face. Inside, two people sat behind a large, imposing desk. There was Mr. Caldwell, the hiring manager, a man whose sharp suit and even sharper gaze seemed to dissect her with a single look. And beside him, Ms. Albright, a woman with a tight smile and an air of impatience. The interview started, and it went downhill fast. Mr. Caldwell's questions were curt, almost condescending. He barely made eye contact, shuffling through her resume as if it were a piece of unwanted mail. Ms. Albright occasionally interjected with a skeptical oomph or a pointed question about her lack of experience in high-profile companies. Amelia tried her best to answer, her voice trembling slightly but holding firm. She spoke about her dedication, her willingness to learn, her strong work ethic honed through years of, well, let's just say life hadn't exactly handed her everything on a silver platter. But it was clear they weren't listening. They saw the simple dress, the lack of fancy jargon in her speech, the nervousness that she couldn't completely hide. They had already made up their minds. Then came the question that stung the most. Ms. Albright leaned back in her chair, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "Frankly, Ms. Hayes," she said, her tone dripping with disdain, "we're looking for someone with more polish, someone who fits our image. You just don't seem to be the right fit for Sterling Solutions." Mr. Caldwell nodded in agreement, his eyes already scanning the next resume on his desk. Amelia's face flushed. The rejection itself hurt, but the way they dismissed her, like she was nothing, that was a different kind of pain. "Thank you for your time," Mr. Caldwell said, his voice flat and dismissive. It was clear the interview was over. Amelia stood up, her hands clenched. She wanted to say something, to defend herself, to tell them that they were wrong, that she was capable, that she deserved a chance. But the words caught in her throat. With a defeated sigh, she turned and walked out of the room, the weight of their judgment heavy on her shoulders. The receptionist didn't even bother to look up as she passed. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes as she walked out of the Sterling Solutions building. The bright sunshine outside felt mocking against her despair. It wasn't just about the job. It was about feeling invisible, about being judged for something so superficial. What they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly imagine, was that Amelia's life was intertwined with Sterling Solutions in a way they would never expect. Across town, in a sleek, modern penthouse overlooking the city, Julian Vance, the CEO of Sterling Solutions, was getting ready for his day. He was a powerful man, respected and perhaps a little feared. But behind the sharp suits and the confident demeanor was a deep, unwavering love for his wife, Amelia. Julian knew Amelia was interviewing at his company. She had wanted to do it on her own, without any special favors. She wanted to earn it, to prove her worth through her own merits. He had admired her strength and her independence, even though it had worried him. He knew the world could be cruel, quick to judge. Later that afternoon, Julian received a call from Mr. Caldwell. "Mr. Vance," Caldwell began, his tone obsequious, "we interviewed a rather unusual candidate today, a Ms. Amelia Hayes. She didn't quite meet our expectations." Caldwell chuckled nervously. "Not exactly Sterling Solutions material, if you know what I mean." Julian's blood ran cold. He kept his voice calm, betraying none of the anger that was building inside him. "Tell me more, Mr. Caldwell." As Caldwell recounted the interview, his words painting a picture of Amelia as someone inadequate and out of place, Julian's grip on his phone tightened. He heard the disdain in Caldwell's voice, the casual cruelty in his dismissal of Amelia. When Caldwell finished, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then Julian spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "You mocked my wife?" There was a stunned silence from Caldwell. "Your wife, sir?" "Yes, Mr. Caldwell." Julian said, each word clipped and precise. "Amelia Hayes is my wife, and you, along with Miss Albright, treated her with utter disrespect." The panic in Caldwell's voice was now palpable. He stammered apologies, tried to explain, to backtrack, but Julian cut him off. "Consider yourselves both relieved of your duties, effective immediately. Security will escort you off the premises. And Mr. Caldwell," Julian added, his voice hardening, "you will never again work in this industry. I will personally see to it." Julian hung up the phone, his mind racing. He knew Amelia would be hurt, humiliated. He had to go to her. He found her at their small, cozy home, the place they had built together before his company had reached its current heights. She was sitting on the porch swing, staring out at the garden, her shoulders slumped. He sat beside her, taking her hand in his. Her hand was cold. "Amelia," he said softly. She turned to him, her eyes red-rimmed. "Oh, Julian," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. They were so mean." Julian's heart ached. He pulled her into a tight embrace. "I know, my love. I know." He held her as she cried, letting her release all the hurt and humiliation she had endured. He didn't tell her yet what he had done. He knew she needed comfort first. Later, as they sat together, the silence between them comfortable and understanding, Julian told her about his conversation with Caldwell. Amelia's eyes widened in surprise. You fired them?" Julian nodded. "No one treats my wife that way. Amelia? No one." A small, sad smile touched Amelia's lips. "But Julian, I wanted to do this on my own. I wanted to prove to myself that I could get this job based on my own merit. And you are more than capable, Amelia," Julian said, his voice filled with conviction. Their inability to see that is their failing, not yours. They were blinded by appearances, by their own narrow-mindedness. The next day, something unexpected happened. Amelia received a personal letter delivered by hand. It was from Julian's office. Inside was a job offer for a senior position, one that recognized her skills and her potential. Amelia looked at Julian, her eyes questioning. "I know you wanted to do it on your own," he said gently, "and you will succeed, Amelia. But sometimes the world isn't fair. Sometimes people are cruel and judgmental. This isn't about me giving you a handout. This is about recognizing your worth, something they were too foolish to do." Amelia accepted the offer. She walked into Sterling Solutions the following week, not as the simple woman who had been mocked and dismissed, but as a confident, capable professional. The change in the receptionist's demeanor was remarkable. When Amelia walked into her new office, she found a note waiting for her. It was from Julian. It read, "Never let anyone dim your light, my love. Your strength and your kindness are your greatest assets." And as Amelia began her new role, she carried those words with her, a reminder that true worth lies not in outward appearances, but in the strength of one's character and the love in one's heart. The people who had judged her so harshly, they learned a valuable lesson that day. A lesson about the dangers of prejudice and the foolishness of underestimating someone based on how they look or where they come from. What do you think about this story? Have you ever faced unfair judgment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you. It helps us share more stories that matter. The moral of the story? Never judge a book by its cover. Kindness and respect cost nothing, but their impact can be immeasurable. Everyone deserves to be seen for who they truly are. Remember that.